Good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing today? This is yours truly, Ryan O'Leary, with Chapter 5 of Roulette, an Italian Mafia Saga, Book 1. So I just want to give thanks to God for allowing me to wake up this morning. We all woke up this morning, and we have a victorious day ahead of us. No matter what we go through, we going to get through it. Y'all don't forget that. So I just want to give a shout out to Super Joe Kelly at work, who has advised me and helped me to get where we are today. I didn't know how to do none of this until he gave me some advice. So special thanks out to Joe Kelly. And if you haven't watched, go check him out on his YouTube channel, Battlefield and MMA Boxing. If you're into martial arts, I'm into it, just not enough. But he teaches, so go out there and get you some lessons, become a better you if that's what you're trying to do. But just go out there and have a good time because he enjoys doing it. He enjoys teaching, and he's a good dude, and I vouch for him. So, with nothing further, let's get on with Chapter 5. August 8th, 2022. Donovan was awakened by the sound of his alarm clock. It's 6 o'clock a.m. The first day of school starts in 1 hour. He got up, showered, dressed, and let a couple good shots of Hugo Boss cologne rain down on him. He was ready by 6:32 a.m. Britt was upstairs waiting for Donovan so they could go. He rounded the corner in a tight white cotton Hanes tank top and a nice pair of blue hip-hop straight jeans with white stone-washed marks on them, his white suede lugs boots, and some fresh, clear, framed Oakley turbine rotor polarized sunshades. "Are you serious right now?" Britt asked, shocked but somehow not surprised by the choice of shirt. "What?" Donovan asked. "That's not a shirt. That's a piece of cotton called lingerie that you men call a shirt. Come on." The drive to school was nothing fun, seeing that Britt had Staying Alive by DJ Khaled featuring Drake and Little Baby playing with the top back. And she was rapping and singing all the way to school. Donovan just looked on in a horrified humor at this new, whatever she is to him now. This was going to be an interesting day, to say the least. Britt was certainly ready for school. She did her hair in a nice, tight cornrows that went straight back into a bun and hung over her left shoulder. Britt really pulled that off. It looked really good. Donovan tried not to glance at all that nice cleavage she was clearly showing in the black cotton women's U-neck button tank top. There were 5 buttons at the U and 3 were open. Her 24-karat gold heart pendant rested just above her breasts, and her shorts, a small and perfectly fit pair of Sugar Thrills Come My Way booty shorts with a low-rise waist and a raw edge hem, and her new white ladies Reeboks Zig Sky sneakers. Britt knew where Donovan's eyes were the moment he tried to take that glance. She playfully pushed his chin away and laughed that he'd been busted. "Keep dreaming, dork," Britt said and joined in with Donovan, laughing. Henderson High, the home of the Falcons, on College Drive, is Donovan's new school for the next 4 years. They were the state champions 5 times in a row from 2017 to 2022, and they have the 3rd highest test scores in math levels nationwide. The parking lot was quickly filling with buses and students as they pulled onto the property for everyone's favorite day. Britt pulled into the junior parking lot behind the theater and the library, and they got out with 10 minutes before the bell. Donovan followed Britt into the door that led them into the sophomore hall. Lockers lined the halls and students filled them as Britt and Donovan made their way through this mass of first-day craziness. She saw faces she recognized, and then at the stairway leading to the second floor, she found her 2 nerdy friends, dressed just as tawdrily as they were a couple days ago, but looking damn good. They said their hellos and had their chats, and after Britt looked at Donovan's class schedule, she pointed him up the stairs. Donovan was about to head up the stairs until this really hot blonde approached Britt, Carly, and Candace as they were talking. This girl, whoever she is, had long, pure blonde hair that she wore like she had just come from a Hollywood stylist. She wore a nice formal updo with loose curls. She wore a tight pair of dark blue Colombian butt lifting spandex jeans that looked like yoga pants all the way around her body. Her white tee was perfect fitting and neatly tucked in. Donovan was in La La Land right now, and lust flowed through his veins like lifeblood. He shook off the thought and made his way upstairs to his locker. Donovan rummaged through his empty locker, putting his notebooks and other things in his locker when someone laid a hand on his left shoulder and startled him, causing him to drop his bag. He turned around and saw a face he recognized. "Oh, it's you," Donovan said, looking into the face of Christina Bolivar. "Cómo está, papi?" "Me extrañaste?" Christina replied with a devilishly sexy smile. Christina was wearing what any girl who works in a club like Night Moves would wear, a red two-piece lace see-through mini dress with her black G-string thong showing clear as day through the material. On the size 6 feet and the end of those nicely fit and toned stripper pole muscular legs were a pair of shiny black 6-inch heel pointed stiletto thigh-high stretch boots with the side laces. "Estoy bien, y lo que pasó la otra noche," Donovan replied, checking her out. "Felt so good," Christina said, then came very close to Donovan's left ear. "You know you liked it when I put this apretado coño on you." Donovan closed his locker with a smile and pulled out his schedule. He has no idea where he needs to go. "Okay, you're new here and you're lost. Let's see," Christina said, taking his schedule. "Sin mierda? I've got Miss Marson too. Come on." Christina led Donovan around the hall and down another hall and right into Miss Marson's homeroom class. There was a hush across the classroom as everyone looked at these two standing in front of the room. Everyone knows Christina is either a call girl or a stripper. The police wouldn't dare to question Christina's legality or her life because Max Denisi took care of all of it. He gets a 35% cut from Las Vegas Metro PD and some of several of Vegas's circuit court and federal judges, as well as the highway patrol, are on his payroll. Max even threw Henderson High a generous donation to the JV teams and the varsity boys and girls teams, as well as the entire athletic department, to leave Christina alone. "Would $5 million make you shut up?" "Miss Bolivar, good to see you this year," Miss Marson said as there were whistles and catcalls being made at Christina. "Shut up, all of you." "And who are you?" "I'm Donovan Lovato. I think you're my homeroom teacher," Donovan said, handing Miss Marson his schedule. "Oh, you're the new guy in my class. Where'd you transfer from?" she asked. "Green Valley," Donovan replied, then looked around the classroom at the eyes that were actually looking right at him, checking him out. "We kicked their asses 5 years in a row. You're at a good school now. Go have a seat and quit the steroids while you're still young. You don't want to look like Ric Flair when you're 60, do you?" Donovan laughed. "No, ma'am." Several of the ladies in this room were watching him walk all the way back to an empty seat next to Christina. "I think I found you some help. We'll go meet him tonight," Christina said as Donovan sat down. "Who?" Donovan replied, then noticed a girl with long, deep, dark brown hair and light turquoise eyes looking right at him with a look that almost seemed to study him. "Who's that girl over there?" Christina looked across the room at a girl who was dressed in a sexy pink tube top with long pink sleeves and very short, tiny blue jean low-rise cutoffs. The girl rolled her eyes sassily at Christina and turned away to roll call. "That's Brandy Hollison. But anyway, I can't tell you his name, but he wants to meet you tonight at his condo." "I called the number you gave me that was on that card," Donovan began. "And," Christina interrupted, dying to know what they talked about. "I don't know. I'm going to meet him after school today." The first half of the day was over, and it was lunchtime. In the center of the school was the cafeteria inside and the courtyard outside the cafeteria. This is where a lot of the students gathered in their cliques to eat and spend some time with their friends. In the dead center was a huge stone water fountain with a 20-foot radius. In the middle was a mountain sculpture with the school mascot sculpted at the top of the mountain, a falcon with its wings spread wide open. There were picnic tables spread out and clean grass-covered ground shaded by trees for the students to sit on. Donovan paid for his lunch, 2 big boneless pork rib sandwiches, a bag of Lay's barbecue chips, and a liter of Dr. Pepper, and came outside to the courtyard. He followed the sidewalk as at least 100 or more students enjoyed their lunch period, and then he saw someone he knew, Ember Holloway, his best friend, and the lead singer of her gothic rock band, Fading Love. Donovan walked over to Ember, who inhaled sharply when she saw him. "Donovan," Ember said, rushing to her feet to hug him. "What's it been, like 5 years?" "Almost, Em. You look really good," Donovan replied. "Thank you. So how are you doing?" "I've been better. I'm doing better. I am better. I've been adopted," Donovan said. "Really? That's so awesome. I'm really glad you have a new home now. You've been waiting for a long time. But let me introduce you to our band," Ember said. "This is Jaden and Mark, Tommy, the lead guitar, and that girl there is like my sister, Leslie. Everybody, this is Donovan." Britt, Carly, Candace, Ashley, and Heather were seated at a table across the courtyard on the east side. They were laughing and enjoying lunch as girl talk continued. "Oh my God," Ashley said, spotting a really hot bald guy in a tight white tank top with cut up and chiseled looking muscles pressing through and bulging through those armholes. She eyed the shape of his butt in those jeans as he stood there talking to Ember Holloway. The other girls turned to look at this person Ashley was mesmerized by. "Oh, that's just Donovan. Mom picked him up from the Boys Ranch Association the other day," Britt said, then took a sip of her blonde vanilla latte. "That's the kid your mom adopted?" Ashley asked, staring lustfully. "He looks like a bald Terminator with those shades and all those muscles. Look at his arms." "Hey, Donovan!" Britt called, and Ember and Donovan looked to where Britt was seated. "Well, hey, it was nice meeting all of yous," Donovan said, then headed over to the east end of the courtyard. The 5 girls just watched Donovan come up to their table with an almost irresistible force emanating from him. "Scoot over, Britt," Donovan said, sitting down next to her. "Hey, cutie," Carly said as if he was her man. "Carly, Candace." "Who are these two?" Donovan asked, looking at the redhead first. "Ashley Winters is a rich girl, literally, but she isn't snobby or conceited. Her parents are just wealthy real estate sales agents with their own business. Ashley is 16 and in the academics club and the science club." "This is Ashley." "Ashley, this is Donovan," Britt said, and they shook hands. "And you are?" Donovan said, looking at the blonde sitting across from him. "The same one he saw this morning. I'm Heather. Heather Carlson." "You're very beautiful, Heather," Donovan said with an honest smile. "I'm really not, but that's sweet of you to say," Heather replied. "So, Donovan, you got a job, a car?" Ashley asked, curious about the new guy. "I let him use mine whenever he needs to, and he works in Vegas," Britt said, then looked at Donovan as if sending him a mental message. The 5 of them spent the lunch hour talking and laughing, doing their best to make the new guy feel welcome. The next few classes seemed to go by with a breeze until last period. Gym with Coach Rivers. Donovan made his way out onto the track with all the other students, and then casually looked around only to spot Heather and Ashley up on the steel bleachers. It was as if everything around him went silent, and the wind started to blow. Donovan looked at Heather, and then Ashley caught him looking down at them and told Heather, Heather looked at Donovan standing down there in that tight tank top that seemed to wrap him like tight plastic. Donovan was locked on those deep periwinkle blue eyes like two magnets stuck together. The way the gentle breeze moved Heather's hair. Donovan Lovato! Earth to Donovan! Coach Rivers called out in a raised tone, snapping the student back into reality. Here, sir, Donovan replied, feeling embarrassed. Thank you, Coach Rivers said in anger, then waved for everyone's attention. I'm only going to say this once. You don't dress out, you don't get credit. Do not waste my time or yours, or you will be back here next year. Now enjoy the rest of the period. Donovan casually made his way up to the bleachers and sat by himself all the way at the right end. He watched Ashley walk down barefoot, holding her high heels in her left hand to go talk to a large Hispanic guy. Heather got up and came down towards the new guy, and he looked up at her. Hi, Donovan, Heather said in a nervous, almost pre-rejected tone. Can I sit down? Sure, Donovan replied, and Heather sat down so close enough to him that you would think they were together. You okay? Yeah, I just wanted to talk to you again. I know that sounds almost desperate or needy. No, it doesn't, Donovan said, then noticed a lot of scars on the inside of Heather's left forearm. Donovan gently took her wrist and turned her arm so he could see what looked like 15 or 20 cuts in a row. What is this? Why are you doing this to yourself? I don't think I'm pretty like other girls, so I cut myself to make the pain go away, Heather replied. Let me tell you something, dollface. Did you just call me dollface? Heather asked, unsure of what to think. Is that okay? Donovan asked, still gently grasping her wrist. I think it's really sweet. Thank you. Look, I don't know what happened, but you don't need to be doing this to yourself. You hear me? Donovan said, then let go of Heather's arm and got up to walk the track. Sometimes just knowing someone is there is really all you need to get through a hard time. Donovan and Heather just walked around the track together as if they were the only two alive. Before they knew it, the bell rang and school was out for the day. Donovan and Heather just kind of stopped halfway around their fourth lap of slow walking. Donovan, can I give you a ride home? Please, Heather asked. Yeah, that's fine. The both of them went to their lockers. Donovan told Britt that Heather was driving him home, and she smiled jealously, then walked off with her friends. Donovan met up with Heather over at the junior parking and followed her over to an all-smoky 2020 Shelby Mustang Super Snake convertible, sitting on 20-inch all-black Lexani shadow rims. This street beast has ground effects, a custom-made carbon fiber VIS Terminator-style racing hood, a 2020 Shelby Mustang Supercharger, a Rencraft modular sport catalytic converters, a complete double tank NOS kit completely installed inside the trunk, a Glasskins Techno V2 S550 rear window cover, and a large tail fin on the back. Damn, is this your car? Donovan asked, seriously impressed as he looked at this street monster. Yes, this sexy beast is all mine. It's got a supercharger in the front and a complete double tank NOS kit installed and hooked up in the trunk. She'll do every bit of 180. Get in, Heather said, and Donovan wasted no time getting in this massive street muscle. There were students and buses still in the parking lot when Heather started this beast up with the push of a button. That roar that bellowed from the guts of this beast gave Donovan a mental hard-on as Heather revved an engine you could hear from 7 blocks away. There were heads turning all over the school lot as Donovan and Heather locked eyes and froze while she revved the engine. Something about this girl reached straight down into the deepest part of him and tore out his heart, never to give it back. Something about this guy made her crazy, and this treasure was hers, never to be shared. Donovan watched Heather as she floored the pedals, spinning the back tires, and causing smoke to rise profusely from both sides, scarring the pavement as students watched this car. Some came to look at this beast that fogged the parking lot with smoke like an Amsterdam weed fest in your bedroom with every window and door shut. Then she slowly followed in line with the cars leaving school. Heather drove Donovan to Acacia Park in Henderson, not too far from her house. Donovan and Heather got out of the car and headed toward the pavilion with some tables as he took in the mountainous view that surrounded them. Cacti and desert vegetation, the highway off in the short distance, children's slides and small fortresses to climb all over, the neatly constructed tan cement tile patio. There was a soccer game going on out in one of the fields with parents and coaches. 4 people were out with small dogs. This place was nice. Donovan and Heather took a seat on one of the benches underneath the pavilion and just relaxed. Heather was mesmerized over how gorgeous Donovan is. She almost too nervously looked at the cut lines and deep meat lines in his arms. The chiseled to perfection, bulging chest pressing through that cotton white tank top he has on. His traps were huge for his age. His neck, all of him stole her heart without a chance of defending her only inner safe haven. Donovan, I just want to thank you for what you said to me at school. I feel like I can trust you. I don't know, Dollface. Sometimes I don't know if I can trust me. I don't think you're that bad, Heather said, then slowly grabbed him by the wrists, opened his arms, and relaxed against him, closing his big arms around her, leaning her head against his neck. She just wanted to be held. It was about 5 p.m. when Heather pulled up outside the Rochelio home. Britt's car was here, and Miss Rochelio was home still. But this was the end of this moment. Thank you for the ride, Dollface. Thank you for spending time with me. Heather watched this guy walk up the driveway and seemingly out of her empty world for the day. She was fucked up about him, and she just met him. Donovan, wait, Heather said, then got out of her car as he stood there watching, waiting. She approached Donovan and gave him a soft kiss on the cheek and looked at him once before she returned to her car and drove away, revving the engine for him 3 loud times as she drove off. And that was that. Miss Rochelio and Britt were in a conversation about the first day of school when Donovan walked in and set his bag on the counter. No, signore, che sembra la tua stanza, Miss Rochelio said and asked in Italian in an irritated, raised voice. No, ma'am, Donovan replied. Get that bag off my counter. Your stuff goes in your room. Capiche? Miss Rochelio shouted as she made dinner. She doesn't like things where they don't go, Britt said with a smile. I see, Donovan replied, taking his bag down. So, I heard that you gained the interest of a certain girl at school today, Miss Rochelio said, and Donovan looked at Britt. What? I didn't tell her about you and Heather, Britt said in her own defense. She didn't say anything, Donnie. Was that her car I heard making all that noise as she drove off? Don't worry, son. I hear about everything. Italians know Italians, and we do talk to each other about life. A vow of silence doesn't mean you can't live, Miss Rochelio said. A what? Donovan asked, halfway listening. Nothing. So how was school, Donnie? Miss Rochelio asked, preparing dinner and waltzing around the big kitchen. It was fine. I found my classes okay, and I met Heather Carlson. But she cuts herself. Miss Rochelio set down the big bowl containing the ingredients for the pepper ricotta primavera she was making. You could smell the garlic, pepper, and herbs all through the house, but dinner would be really good. Donnie, she's a really sweet girl and needs a big, strong young man like you in her life. Let her confide in you and open up as she wills, Miss Rochelio said, then returned to making dinner. And when she does, Donnie, she'll love you. You hear me, son? She will love you. Now go get ready and dinner will be done in about half an hour. Donovan went down to his room meditating on Miss Rochelio's wisdom as if there were secrets. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. But he knew that there was more to that pure Italian mother upstairs. He decided to get some sleep for a couple hours before his night began. The alarm on his phone sounded. 6:54 p.m. Donovan got a shower and thought about tonight. He is going to Vegas to meet a guy named Don Torrio Cabrini after one phone call the other night. And then he is going to meet someone that Christina Bolivar knows that he doesn't. That gave Donovan some mental chills up his spine for sure. Someone to help him? With what exactly? Donovan dried off, wrapped himself in a black towel, and came out of his bathroom only to find Britt standing there at the bottom step. He had pulled some boxers from the drawer, picked out his outfit tonight, and turned around, and there she was, just looking at him. Mom said dinner's ready and to come up. Thanks, I'll be up in a minute, Donovan replied. Britt started to go back upstairs, but stopped in mid-step. She walked toward Donovan, looking at his upper body as she approached him. She looked at all the meat lines that pressed through his tan skin at the slightest move as if his skin was 2 sizes too small. The bulging traps at his neck, the deeply chiseled and sculpted pecs, the lats his arms couldn't hide, and the deep chiseled 8-pack abs that made her heart skip at least 1,000 beats. Britt slowly reached out and ran her right hand, her fingers up Donovan's abs and all through the canals between the muscles. She just wanted to touch his stomach. Wow, Britt said, then hurried back upstairs, embarrassed. Donovan came upstairs a few minutes later looking very sharp, expensively sharp. He wore a double-toned blue T-Boys color block casual polo and shorts 2-piece set. The zipper was pulled all the way down to mid-chest, and his thick 18-karat 22-inch gold Figaro chain with a large matching question mark charm pendant was shiny, and both pieces were gleaming. A nice pair of matching midnight blue suede lug 6-inch boots adorned his feet. Miss Rochelio came joyously out of the kitchen and took Donovan by the left hand and began to dance with him playfully in the living room while Britt watched and laughed at her crazy mother. Miss Rochelio danced around Donovan, going under his left arm and then turning before letting his hand go. Boy, Donnie, don't you look nice in that blue? Those shorts look good on you, too, Miss Rochelio said, looking him over. I tell yous, Donnie, if I was about 25 years younger, that good-looking culo of yours would be mine. Mom, that's gross, Britt said, laughing. I'm a woman and I lust, Brittany, but don't you dare or I'll pluck your eyes out and hand them to yous. Dinner's ready. You two eat, Miss Rochelio said as she grabbed her bag to go to the hospital for the night. Before I forget, Britt, Miss Edelston from the hospital is going to Tuscany for a few days, so I'm going to watch her house. You remember her, don't you, Brittany? Yes, Mom, she's a Christmas regular, Britt replied with attitude as she ate her dinner. That's not nice, Brittany. Donnie, Miss Edelston always brings us nice hot apple crisp casseroles for Christmas. That's nice of her, Donnie said as he ate. It sure is. She does it every year like she has for the last 10 years I've worked the night shift at the hospital. Anyway, you two behave. Britt, do the dishes and no parties, Miss Rochelio said, then headed to the door. Donnie, you're a big boy. You protect my baby. Yes, ma'am. The door closed and the time was now. Both of them had finished their dinner to the full and Donovan had to go. Britt was already upstairs in her room. She can't stay in one spot for 10 minutes, it seemed like. Donovan ran up the stairs and slowed down as he approached her door. The no-fly zone without knocking. He stood there for a breath's worth of time to figure out that Britt was on a call to one of her friends. He listened. It was Heather. He knocked on the door. Britt growled in frustration as she got up to answer the door. What do you want, Donovan? Britt said in a raised tone, opening the door. Donovan, not meaning to, took a quick glance at Britt, just standing there, fuming over an interrupted phone call, holding the door open with one hand and her phone in the other, with her clothes on from today minus her shirt. That black Valerie overall lace push-up bra against those perfectly round 34Cs and the right strap just falling off her shoulder. My eyes are up here, dork. Keep dreaming. Now what do you want? Britt said, aware of what he was looking at. I need to take your car, Donovan said. Fine, don't scratch it, Britt replied, slamming the door in his face, then opening it again. Your girlfriend's on the phone and she said to give you her address. 2716 Borthwick Avenue. Bye. The door slammed again. Donovan was on the road in no time. He punched the address in the GPS and saw that it was a 26-minute drive from his house to hers. He followed the GPS to Anthem Highlands Drive to Borthwick Avenue. He pulled the AMG SL Roadster to the keypad outside the gate of Haddington, entered the code, and continued on as the GPS led him to 2716. And there was Heather's monster Mustang parked on the right half of the driveway. The beige cement two-story home was magnificent. Two-car garage, a bedroom above the garage with one window, or maybe that's a staircase window. A nicely created granite stone garden with healthy palm trees and shrubbery. The driveway connected to a walk path that led to a cast iron gate which guarded the front door. The home was every bit beautiful, and then after a heartbeat's worth of time, Donovan saw something even more beautiful. Heather Carlson. Heather was in the left port of the garage on a teal-blue yoga mat, and she was somewhere else. Donovan got out of the car. Heather heard the door close and opened her eyes. She stood up and saw she has company. Donovan looked earnestly at this gorgeous young woman in a pair of Zuswuda nude, tight-skinned, friendly leopard print yoga pants and a matching leopard print hollow-out mesh round neck yoga bra. The inner curves of Heather's breasts were open to his eyes. Those pants lifted her butt and made her look so damn delicious. Hi, Donovan, Heather said nervously, but unashamed that he could see what he can of her body. Hey, dollface, where's my hug? Donovan replied. Heather approached him and flowed right into his arms, pressing her body warmly against his as those massive 16-year-old arms closed protectively around her. You want a hug, baby? Heather said, kissing him on the cheek, then letting him go. You're a yoga student, eh? It relaxes me when I get into my thoughts. So what's up? Heather said, brushing some loose strands of her bangs out of her face. I'm actually on my way to Vegas, but someone gave me your address. I told Britt to see if she could get you to come by, and I see there was no compulsion on her part, Heather said, and they both laughed. You going to see about some work? Actually, yes. I'm on my way to meet a guy now about a job, Donovan replied. What kind of work? Don't know yet, but I will know soon. A door in the garage opened and they both looked back as a woman came out onto the driveway. Heather, dinner's almost ready. Hi, Heather's friend. You hungry? The woman said gleefully. Okay, be right in, Mom. This is Donovan, by the way, Heather said. Nice to meet you, Donovan. I'm Marie, Heather's mom. I'm leaving for work in a little bit, hun. Don't be too long, Marie Carlson said, then went back inside. I've got to get going anyway, Donovan said, and Heather gave him another good hug before she watched him drive off in Britt's car heading toward Las Vegas. The strip of Las Vegas seemed to just slowly roll right on by as Donovan made his way to a place called The Grove, somewhere on Al Carrison Street. Donovan found the place and went inside. He found his way into the grand garden room and waited. For what? Footsteps could be heard coming from a nearby hallway, and Donovan looked around until he was met by a man in a nice dark blue Stefano Ricci three-piece suit. He was about 5.5 feet tall and full of black, close-cropped hair with light brown eyes. May I help you? The man asked, staring at this big muscle-bound bald kid removing his shades. Instantly, he recognized the jeans in the face staring back at him. Santa Maria Madre de Dio, the man said in pure shock and fear, but not for his own life. I'm Donovan began. I know who you are, the man replied as he approached Donovan to shake his hand. I thought I was talking to a dead man the other night. You really are him. Who does everybody think I'm supposed to be? Donovan said, letting go of the man's hand. You really don't know, do you? Know what? Donovan asked, suspicious and curious. About your dad, Antonio Bricks Lovato. I'm Don Torrio Cabrini. I've got everything I said I would create for you. Come on. Don Torrio led Donovan back to the room where he does all the work of his hustle. making completely credible and illegal identification, IDs, licenses, social security cards, passports with whatever name you want on it. He is giving Donovan a $5,000 package free because of his dad. Here's everything, Don Torrio said, handing Donovan a large gold envelope. Donovan took out his contents and looked at all of it. One driver's license stating his address and that he is 21 years old, and one passport book and license with the proper details on it. He is satisfied. Nobody will ever suspect a thing. I do the finest work in the world. I get people from the Middle East, Russia, and even from the ass crack of China. It's all legit. Thank you, Don Torrio. May un problema? Your dad was a good man, but 10 years ago he was murdered in a contract kill, Donovan said, and he was approached by Don Torrio said, and he was approached by Donovan. Nobody's perfect. You saying my parents were murdered? Donovan asked, growing both angry and brokenhearted right there in that office. I can't tell you anything more because I don't know what it was about. But I promise, I just know that it was no car accident like Mayor Ed Schiotti said on public record. There were 2 Las Vegas Metro street cops, Rio Cogliani Sporchi, but their names were Richard Galucco and Melvin Cole. After they arrived on the scene of your parents' murder, they left and were never seen again, Don Torrio explained humbly, then watched as the son of Brix Lovato left the building. La Mirda Copira il Fanora, which means the shit's about to hit the fan in Italian. It was 8:06 p.m. when Donovan made it to Night Move's Gentleman's Lounge to see Christina. He walked in the front door to 3 really hot, scantily clad women in next to nothing, and 3 huge bouncers. Donovan showed them his driver's license, paid the cover charge, and walked right inside. How Do You Want It by Tupac was playing all through the club as Donovan passed by patrons and strippers. On stage and off stage, at tables, talking with the men here tonight. There had to be at least 300 or more men in here right now to the 400 women out on the floors and dancing on the poles and working the private rooms every night. But he didn't see Christine anywhere. A cocktail waitress in a Caribbean blue see-through lace push-up bra and matching see-through thong, wearing white thigh-high 6-inch stiletto heels with side laces, came by. Excuse me, have you seen Aztec Sapphire tonight? Donovan asked. She's back in the dressing room with a bunch of the other girls. Who are you? Donovan Lovato. I'll tell her you're here. You want a drink? The girl asked. An Incredible Hulk, Donovan said, and she left. Donovan found a seat as the remainder of Way Too Sexy by Drake featuring Future and Young Thug came to his last few seconds. And then the DJ came on over the loudspeaker. It's that time again, Night Moves, gentlemen. Get your drinks and get ready because another Night Moves Natural is coming out right now. Everybody show some Las Vegas love to Orchid, the DJ said. Donovan watched as She's Got the Look by Roxette came on, and from behind a sparkling black curtain came a young, hot woman with hundreds of long purple braids done in a nice, tight, updo cornrow hairstyle. She strutted down the aisle like a fashion model at a European fashion show. All those long braids hung down to the small of her back. She was dressed in a spandex net mini dress with nothing on underneath except a wet purple Y-back thong and a pair of matching purple 6-inch knee-high boots. Her large breasts looked so damn good to Donovan as he swayed to the music, moving rhythmically in his chair. Here you go, babe, the girl he'd met earlier said, returning with his drink. Donovan took a sip as he watched this dancer on stage look at him, among about 300 or so other men, and laughed as he moved to the music. He smiled and waved as he sipped his drink. Orchid grabbed the pole and twisted as she moved like a pro. Those muscular legs wrapped around the pole, and then she grabbed it, opening her legs into a split, parallel with the pole. There were howls and whistles everywhere she performed. Then the net dress came off and Donovan decided to join the other men throwing her bills. 20s, 50s, and a couple tens is all Donovan saw on the stage floor as he approached. He pulled out a fat wad of hundreds, hanging out like he didn't give a fuck, and tossed her 4 bills. The dancer saw that and smiled at him, looking him in the face, then continued to perform. Donovan waved another 4 $100 bills. The breasts on this woman had to be good, had to be a good and perfectly set round 38C. Her nipples were a deep pink against that vanilla complexion. She spun, twisted, turned, and did the sexiest things on that pole that Donovan had never seen live before. He chugged the rest of his drink and howled in approval along with these other men, slightly drunk at 16. He's loving this. Donovan ordered another Incredible Hulk and waited for the girl to come out. A couple minutes later, there she was, same thong, but with a wet purple small triangle bikini top on those nice breasts of hers. It was as if they were thinking alike. Donovan saw her from his seat as she was evidently looking around for someone. He sipped his second Incredible Hulk as she came in his direction, having not found him yet. Fuck it, you're mine, Donovan said to himself and got up. The girl looked around and spotted the bald guy that was waving all that money at her. She watched him approach her with a drink in his left hand. Donovan was feeling good for his second drink. He stopped right in front of her. She reached out and touched the fabric of Donovan's shirt, then took the glass from his hand and took a good chug. Donovan was loving this. She handed him his glass and slowly licked her perfect mid-sized lips with the tip of her tongue. Her eyes were a deep honey gold, not a hint of brown. She said something to him in Russian. I'm sorry, I don't understand a word you just said, but I don't give a fuck because you're fucking hot, Donovan replied in a slightly slurred tone, and she laughed, touching his chest. I said your drink's an Incredible Hulk. It's a, how do you say in English, a good drink, she said in a thick but sexy Russian accent. I'm Donovan. My name is Sarisa. Would you like a private dance? Honestly, Donovan said, then stepped to her in a humble, respectful manner, almost close enough for a kiss, but far enough away to feel her breath on his lips. Sarisa looked from those lips of his to the smoky gray eyes that stared deep into hers. I'd like some of your undivided attention, Donovan replied. How old are you? 21, Donovan said in a good buzzed but smooth tone. No, you're not, Sarisa replied with a you're-busted smile on her face. She was somehow irresistibly hungry for this muscular kid. He was a big kid with big money, but she knew he was nowhere near 21. Come on. Donovan was being led by the hand back to the area where Christina had taken his virginity. Christina was out on the floor looking for Donovan because they had to go meet someone now. It's now 10:22 p.m. and they were late. Then she saw him being led back to the private room for a lap dance. You son of a bitch, Christina said, fuming with jealousy as she watched Donovan disappear through the yellow velvet rope. What's Christina tripping so hard for? Donovan isn't her man. Sarisa led Donovan down a long hall where there were rooms with curtains containing other men getting lap dances. And then there were the private bedrooms with couches, love seats, a king-sized bed, and varieties of Liberator sex cushions. The two of them entered the fourth room on the right, and Sarisa closed the door behind them. There was a nice white-framed four-poster canopy bed with a sexy white see-through curtain all the way around that glowed in the black lights of this room. Sarisa led Donovan to the couch, and then she sat down. Donovan knew what time it was. She lifted her legs. Donovan dropped to his knees. He slipped that thong off her hips, and she watched him take it off her and drop it on the carpet. Donovan looked at the perfect dark pink lips between those long, muscular legs of Sarisa's, closed like a clamshell and not a single hair or bristle in sight. He looked up and met eyes with this sizzling hot Russian stripper, then moved his head between her legs. Cerisa closed her eyes and let out a soft moan from the feeling of Donovan's tongue flicking teasily against her clit with raw fire she felt in her body from the slightest touch. Donovan went down on her like a cunnilingus god, looking up at her as she moaned and writhed from the penetration of his tongue. And then Cerisa dug her nails into his bald scalp. She breathlessly moaned something in Russian, crying out, eyes closed, and her head and her back arched. Cerisa bent her head back, grabbed onto the back of the couch, and let out a long, breathless moan as her body exploded from a good orgasm. He continued to rub her deep inside with his tongue as she bucked her hips up and down, riding out her hard climax. Donovan and Cerisa came back out about an hour later into the main floor of the club, and without warning or even seeing her, Christina approached them both with a pissed off look on her face. This is a side to her that Donovan doesn't know he doesn't want anything to do with. She smelled the liquor on his breath, though evidence was the empty glass in his left hand. You do realize we're late, right? And you're drunk, I see, Christina said and looked at Cerisa. And you're cheating on me with Orchid? Donovan and Cerisa looked at this mad Mexicana, and then she broke down and laughed. A weight of what the fuck lifted off his shoulders as she and Cerisa smiled. But seriously, Poppy, we gotta go. This guy don't like anyone being late. Christina and Donovan made their way toward the Panorama Towers at 4525 Dean Martin Drive in her completely restored black 2008 Hummer H2 on XS X04 chrome 24x10 rims with a lift kit, a chrome and mesh Asante grille on the front, and a system in the back that blocked any sight through the rearview mirror. Her SUV was so fucking gangster with all the chrome and all the add-ons she bought with her own money. Then again, Christina's fucking gangster too. So when I was 11 years old, I was living in Culiacan, Mexico, which is still run by the Sinaloa cartel, and the federales murdered my parents during a cocaine deal. My dad was trafficking 50 keys of 100% pure coke for Andregas Valatori. This guy's bigger than Pablo Escobar and El Chapo. One's dead and the other's locked up. Pause. One's dead and the other's locked up for life here in America, Christine explained. How'd you get into the U.S., Donovan asked. I lived on the streets of Mexico for the next 4 years, trafficking drugs across the border like a mule many times just to eat and try to make my way to survive. Sometimes for, say, 3 kilos of cocaine, some of the Sinaloa gangsters that needed their dope to be moved into Cali, I would get, the most I ever got for a run was $700, whether I make it or not. But when I was 15, Max Denisi found me in Tijuana and brought me into America. He never did tell me why he was there, but I have a new life here and I'm free. So who are we going to see? Donovan asked as they pulled into Panorama Towers. Hold on. Let me park and let's get out and I'll tell you, Christina said. The both of them got out of the SUV and Donovan walked with Christina toward the building. She knows the FBI is on to her about her employment by Denisi, the prime minister of the Mafia, and she didn't doubt it one bit that her SUV might be bugged by the feds. They could be watching them both right now. The guy you're about to meet's Matteo Corbenzo, and he's not the kind of Italian you want to fuck up with, Christina said. What's he do? Donovan asked, suspicious. No say, but I do know that he's ruthless and can't be trusted. I'm trying to help you, Donovan, Christina said, and they went inside the building. Organized crime in Las Vegas, Nevada. A thing of the past? Nah. But the American Mafia with active bosses and capo regimes, soldiers and associates? Just because you don't see Capone riding around in his green 1928 Cadillac Town sedan, pumping rounds at the police from a Tommy gun, or Carlo Gambino ordering an assassination due to unloyalty, or John Gotti trying to convince the world from a Mafia visitation phone that there is no Mafia doesn't mean there is no Mafia. The Las Vegas FBI branch and the New York City FBI branch are well aware of the existence of the Mafia, even today. They have Denise's voice of recorded bugs inside some of New York's and Vegas's mob social clubs today. They have eyewitness surveillance of the reigning prime minister of the Mafia escorted to and from places by his active Mafia capos and soldiers. And they are building their case to lock Denisi and his family of cold-blooded killers away for life. FBI agents David Tartani and Raymond Salters have been investigating and acquiring rare and exclusive footage of Cristina Bolivar for the last 3.5 years since Denisi went to Culiacan, Mexico, and came home with a 15-year-old illegal immigrant. In the last 14 months, this woman of deceased Sinaloan cartel parents has done more contract murders and ordered hits for Max Denisi than some of his own capos and soldiers in their prime. But the FBI knew the 16-year-old girl was a force to be reckoned with. And now we've got a new player in the game, Agent Tartani said, having seen this big bald kid in a nice blue outfit. He's got to be Denisi's muscle. We've got everybody he's involved with, and now out of the shadows comes some big bald kid escorting Bolivar into Panorama Towers. What you want to do? Agent Salters replied. I don't know yet, but you know who lives here. Yeah, up there on the 35th, Mateo Corbinzo. He's moving dope through Cali and all the way to New York for Valatori, Salters replied. Yep. He and his own men had a falling out, and instead of putting a contract hit out on him, he splits with him and goes his own way, only to do bigger things, probably involving that bald guy, Tartani said, as if this was the only thing he was created to do, take down mobsters. You think so? Salters asked. Possibly. But we got enough footage for tonight. Let's get out of here, Tartani said, then headed off in the black-on-black 2022 Ford Interceptor utility SUV. Sometime after midnight, the same night. August 9th, 2022. Christina and Donovan stepped off the elevator into the third-floor condo of Matteo Corbinzo, an Italian gangster that runs drugs for the leader of the Milicia Boliviano cocaine cartel, Andreas Valatori, the biggest and only Bolivian drug kingpin on the planet. Corbinzo is pure Italian. It was never affiliated with any Italian mafia crime families, but he did make his money through bookies and gambling as well as running Chicago prostitution rackets in his early 20s. Matteo did a 12.5-year stint up in Sing Sing and got out in 2016 only to dive headfirst into the drug game with Max Denisi as the prime minister of the Mafia. After 3 times over, flipping several $100,000 worth of Valatori's product, Corbinzo just lives for the moment. He is more of a contract murderer negotiator than he is a do-it-yourself type of gangster. It was up in Manhattan, New York that Corbinzo met Denisi. 1987 to be exact. Denisi was the boss of the Denisi organized crime family, and Corbinzo was running extortion rackets and running prostitution rackets through the adult clubs and peep show lounges in Manhattan. The 5 families of New York were still actively living life as they did. But Corbinzo has made a name for himself, yet never having committed a murder or ordered a hit on a worthy scumbag. This $14 million 3-floor condo, owned by Matteo Corbinzo, offers a stunning eastern view of the entire Las Vegas Strip. Completely equipped with its own private glass-enclosed elevator, a 2-toned marble-floored patio with an above-ground marble jacuzzi, and a fully stocked wet bar. The entire floor of this masterpiece of a palace is beautiful marble, reflection shiny marble, marble walls, a glass-paneled spiral staircase to a second floor, bars, dining rooms, exotic marble showers, The 2-bedroom, 5-bathroom palace is a dream to the hard-working individual still attempting to reach the American dream. Donovan was seriously looking around at this palace home as he followed Christina into the huge living room where 2 men were seated and watching a soccer game. Both teens could see 2 more men outside with another in the jacuzzi, puffing a cigar filled with weed by the look of the smoke he inhaled. One of the men outside looked in the direction of the teens and did a double take, then bent down to tell the man in the jacuzzi that he has company. The 2 men watching the game rose from their seats as 2 others came inside, followed by a man in green swimming trunks and a nice, thick gold rope chain around his neck that could pass for a young Anthony Garcia's twin any day of the week. The slicked back, straight black Italian hair drew attention to the piercing green eyes set in a face of earned age. But this was Corbenzo. So the son of Bricks Lovato lives, the man said, looking at this huge teenager with Christina Bolivar. How'd you survive? How'd you know? Donovan asked, suspicious as Corbenzo fixed himself a glass of Grey Goose vodka. Italians know Italians, kid, Corbenzo said, then took a sip of his drink and exhaled through the nasty burn. Your old man had brass balls like I'd never seen. I'm sorry about his demise. It was an unfortunate accident. That was a lie. Or was it? Donovan was triggered to revisit the words of Don Torrio earlier. An unfortunate accident? He looked at the distorted faces of the 4 men that lingered casually in the living room while the conversation continued. The man was a walking, talking legacy. But you got some big shoes to fill, Corbenzo said. Donovan casually approached Matteo Corbenzo, stopping about 6 feet away. Christina stood where she was, unsure of what would happen next. But one wrong move and both of them would be carried out of this home, and that would be it. Who says I'm going to? Donovan said and looked around. I hear you're looking for work. I am. You offering? Donovan replied, and Matteo walked past him and took a walk out onto the marble balcony. Come here, kid. Take a look out here, Corbenzo said, looking at Donovan briefly before returning his gaze to the strip 25 stories below. Donovan gazed down at Las Vegas Boulevard, placing his hands on the balcony rail, the traffic moving through the veins of Vegas as life went on for them. See that down there? That's life going on, moving in its unstoppable force. Neither life nor time waits for anyone. I put in my time, and now I live, Corbenzo said, turning to this young kid. Now you got to ask yourself if you want to live. Donovan sighed after being fed a mouthful in 7 words. Neither life nor time waits for anyone. What you want me to do? Donovan asked, completely missing what this man just said right to his face. Corbenzo didn't say anything about a job. He said, ask yourself if you want to live. Corbenzo snickered at Donovan's response, then took another sip of his drink, turning back to the magnificent view, as if he were Zeus, looking over the balcony of Mount Olympus at the world below. Donovan completely missed the message. Be ready in 2 weeks. I'll be in touch, Corbenzo said, and that was the clue to leave. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your support. I'm out.